Welcome to the Elementary STEM Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Naomi Meredith, a former classroom teacher turned K-5 STEM teacher and coach. With over a decade of experience teaching and a master's degree in STEM leadership, I'm here to coach you throughout the year to help you gain back more time to create innovative experiences for your students. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 3 questions I get asked about 3D printing. I'm going to be answering what printers should I buy, how do kids actually create 3D prints, and what lessons should I actually teach them. When I first got started with 3D printing, I actually was not a fan. It was not something I really enjoyed. I had an older printer. The things weren't printing. I also didn't know what to create with the kids. I thought it was super confusing and I really, really wanted to give up. But I knew that 3D printing was important. It is a newer technology. So I didn't give up. I actually gave it a try. And that summer after my bad 3D printing experience, my teacher, Honey, and I actually went on a trip to Chicago and we went to the Museum of Science and Industry, and they have different classes that you can take where you pay a little bit extra, but you can learn and have an experience. And one of them was actually about 3D printing. And the whole lesson was geared towards kids and how to create something with 3D prints and what it means and how does it actually work. But I took it as a learning experience. And I even told the instructors, like, hey, I'm a teacher. I want to learn more about 3D printing. And it really got me excited about trying this out again and developing lessons for my students K-5 where 3D printing was another meaningful experience in my STEM classroom. So fast forward, I ended up getting newer printers for my classroom, and I now teach 3D printing classes to kids and after school programs, my own after school programs, and I'm constantly 3D printing every day, all of their designs. So here are my answers to your questions. First is, what 3D printer should I buy? And some of you already have some out there. You might not even had an option or a choice of what kind of 3D printer you could choose. But if you are in the market and at the time of this recording, here are the 2 that I recommend. And 3D printers change and evolve. There's another type of printer I've recommended in the past, but of course, like I said, technology improves and there's always new things out there to try out. The first one that I recommend that's a good out of the box, it's actually made for kids, and I actually recommend it to my own students when parents ask what printer I should buy. I have this in my house right now. I've had it for about a year. I'm also not sponsored by either company I'm going to recommend, but this brand is called the X Maker, and it's super simple. It comes with different filament colors. If you choose that option, you can get it on Amazon. I'll link it below in the show notes, but it's literally, like I said, out of the box, prints one color, very easy, very simple, and easy to manage. So if you have no experience whatsoever, that's a great one to start with, and it's very affordable. The next brand, and there's different options in this brand depending on how much you want to spend and what types of printing you want to do, but the hot 3D printing brand right now is called Bambu Labs. And like I said, there's different models that you can go up in. I actually have one coming in the mail. I just ordered one. It should be getting here any day now. But these are actually printers that people even outside of teaching are recommending, and one I'm really excited to play more with. So definitely check that out if you want a little bit higher end 3D printer and one that can do multiple colors if you're interested in, but don't feel like you have to do that option, but it is something that can be done with those printers. No matter what type of printer you buy, the kids actually have to create in something. And there are 2 platforms for kids that I highly recommend. I use all the time. I just had some lessons last week where we use these programs, but the first one is free on website, but it's also a paid app, and it's called Doodle 3D Transform. And I like to use this one with primary students when we're getting started with 3D printing, or students who need more support. What I like about this platform is that they can draw their design or use some of the simple shapes in the platform, and while they are drawing simultaneously on the other side, side, they could see what their 2D drawing will look like 3D. So it gives them that visual and that immediate feedback of how their print is going to look. And these prints print flat. I almost never have had any mistakes with printing these designs. They print very, very well. And it's perfect. You can get this done in one day, which is enough for your younger students. And it's a great intro to 3D printing. The other platform I like to use, and it's free on website and their app, is Tinkercad, which is made by Autodesk. And fun fact, my dad worked for that company when he first started as a computer engineer. He also hasn't taught me any of this, but it's just a fun connection I like to share. And Tinkercad I like to use starting in second grade. I typically do 3D printing around in January, and it's a great platform. I think it's very straightforward. It's like building with digital blocks. I have some getting started videos on my YouTube channel, but it's really good building those digital blocks. The students can create whatever they need to, and you can download it in the file that works for your printer. Typically, STL files is what you download in, but that is the platform I use. I still use with my 3D printing clubs. I use it to create my own things, but it has a lot of flexibility where you can build up the skills, but also it's very user-friendly to begin with. I think one of the biggest things with 3D printing that can be intimidating is what to actually teach your students. And are you using your printer for printing random things they find online? Or are kids creating their own unique designs? I go more into detail about all of this, by the way, in my 3D printing workshop. There is a whole replay. We already went live, but you can get actually a good starter lesson for any grade inside of that workshop, and also a 2-hour presentation by me where I walk you through systems routines, lessons, ideas, and things that you need to know when you're printing with elementary students. So here's a snapshot of what I did in each grade level when I was teaching K-5 STEM. Kindergarten talked about ways to take care of the earth and created a keychain of that way that they wanted to help the earth out. First grade talked about animal babies and their adults and their traits that make them similar and different, and created a little baby and their adult. This one is my favorite. It is so cute. Second grade, we talked about ways that we can help animals, specifically birds, and when they are migrating. And some birds need a little bit more help in the wintertime. So we actually created a birdhouse prototype that would be printed. I printed them small. It wasn't the whole full life example that would take forever, but this was a good intro lesson where they were transitioning into Tinkercad. Third grade, we talked about life cycles, and they created a model of the life cycle of a living thing of their choice. Fourth grade, we talked about lights and circuits, and they created a night light that would actually sit on top of a light, and the light would shine through and make it glow. And fifth grade kind of circles back like kindergarten, but ways that they can help the earth. But they had to create a unique invention that would either protect Earth's resources, prevent a problem from happening, or even solve a problem and help clean up an area. With my 3D printing club, I do different things. It's a little bit more open-ended. I have a little bit more flexibility. But again, 3D printing has so many different possibilities. Don't be intimidated by it. I know that if you join my workshop, if you want more about 3D printing, make sure to join my workshop. You can grab it in the link in the show notes or join in at naomimeredith.com/3D printing workshop. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Elementary STEM Coach Podcast. I would love to connect with you over on Instagram at NaomiMeredith_ or send me an email to elementarystemcoachpodcast@gmail.com. Also, make sure to check out my website, naomimeredith.com, to see all the show notes from today's episode and shop my K-5 STEM resources. Any questions you have, needs for resources, or ideas for episodes, get in touch. I'll talk to you soon.